Here we have Henry. He is a very bright individual who always strives for success. He diligently studies for his SPM examinations, hoping to change things for the better for his impoverished family. Here we have Kensley. He is your typical high school slacker who does not prioritize his education as much. He tends to be tardy to school and doesn't pay attention to his teachers during his lessons. He spends his free time playing games and doing other unproductive acts. He takes care of his father's shop during his free time, all while focusing on his studies. That's odd. What happened here? How is it possible that Henry, who has been studying since the beginning of the year, was not accepted into matriculation or any public universities? He was top of his class and was even given the Best Student Award after successfully scoring the highest grade for all his subjects in his year. whereas Kensley, who slacked off all the time and didn't pay much attention to his studies, was accepted into both UPU and matriculation. This is straight up outrageous. Even his past teachers disliked how irresponsible he was towards his studies. Well folks, let's call in the culprit behind all of this: the Bumiputera quota system. Bumiputera is a term used in Malaysia to describe Malays, the orang asli of Peninsular Malaysia, and various indigenous peoples of East Malaysia. In the 1970s, the Malaysian government implemented policies designed to favour Bumiputeras, including affirmative action in public education and in the public sector, to create opportunities and to diffuse inter-ethnic tensions following the 13 May incident in 1969. Originally intended to be a temporary measure, these policies are still in effect and have been described as racially discriminatory. Although these policies have succeeded in creating a significant urban Malay and native Bornean middle class, they have been less effective in eradicating poverty among rural communities. Despite constant calls to do away with racial preferences in policy making, the Ministry of Education announced that the 1910 quota favouring Bumiputera students in the pre-university matriculation program would be maintained. The matriculation program, seen as a fast-track option to enter public universities, was originally fully reserved for Bumiputeras. Since 2002, a 10% non-Bumiputera quota has been put in place. For those against matriculation, the program is widely seen as an easier channel for Bumiputeras to enter public universities. Many non-Bumiputeras are unhappy with what consequently seems like a restriction on educational opportunities for them. The dissatisfaction is compounded by the fact that the alternative to this pre-university path, the Malaysian High School Certificate (STPM), takes longer time to complete and is perceived to be more difficult. Over the years, this has led to widespread belief that non-Bumiputeras have to work much harder to compete with the Bumiputeras for the same access to a place in university. As seen in the acted out scenario we have provided, Henry is a very bright and intelligent individual. However, due to him not being born as a Bumiputera, he is put at a disadvantage. All the hard work and effort he had placed in his studies was all for naught. On the other hand, Kensley is a lazy and carefree individual who does not care about his education, but due to him being born as a Bumiputera, he has received privileges that makes his overall life much easier. This is clearly unfair and not justified. As times have changed, the Bumiputera quota system is no longer relevant and should be adjusted accordingly to suit today's situation. We all know Malaysia is a multicultural nation that houses a myriad of different races and ethnic groups. Getting with the times is one way of moving forward as a modern nation. The main thing that the government should focus on is to give equal opportunities to everyone. What we suggest is to start by increasing the quota for non-Bumiputeras. Better yet, we can actually aid per students like what it was intended to be. We can start by giving at least 50% of the quota to B40 and M40 students. That way, Malaysians can have equal opportunities regardless of what race and ethnicity they possess. Education is a universal human right, and after 63 years, it is high time to prioritize equitable access to higher education for all Malaysians. The Bumiputera privilege has been embedded in Malaysia for decades, and eliminating it altogether is not a feasible or desirable move. Although affirmative action may be necessary to jumpstart aid for marginalized communities, such quotas should be a temporary measure. More work is needed to evaluate the effectiveness of these programs and design better policies that tackle the root of inequality. Sonia Maria Sotomayor, who is an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, once said, "Until we get equality in education, we won't have an equal society."